I don't know about you, but reading lately has been quite a chore. Let's see together how we can improve this. In the last 6 months, I've probably read more than in the past 3 years. Let me show you how. Reading is this type of skill which is so majestic and so cool now to say, oh, I read. Maybe because it's becoming less and less frequent to do it, and more people I can see online and also offline are becoming illiterate. There is lack of critical thinking. I've noticed I have this reading anxiety, this kind of overwhelming feeling where I'm not doing enough. So there is this pressure of you should read, you should read, you should be reading. It's a habit that needs time to build. When I was going to school, I remember reading so much. It's difficult to describe, but the feelings, the emotions I have felt through reading, I have never found them elsewhere. So poetic. But it's true. I got back to reading and it doesn't feel overwhelming now. It doesn't feel like heavy because I always have this sense of FOMO, of being behind, fear of missing out. So you're not doing something, you're not participating in something, you are behind. This might seem very simple, but knowing your level, if you're reading in a foreign language, and also knowing what you like to read, that's very important. Having a rough idea of what your level is super important, because if you're reading something and you don't understand 50% of it, it makes no sense. You'll be demotivated sooner than you know. If you're reading a book, you should be touching the 97%, which is insane. To test it out, try it on yourselves. If you're reading a book and you need to stop every 2 or 3 sentences to look up a word, look up an expression, it's a bit difficult. When it comes to reading shorter texts, that's another story, but you still need to be able to understand the biggest majority of it. It's also important to read something you enjoy. If you're reading something you're not interested into, it's very similar to when you're going to school and you're assigned these literature classics which you cannot understand, you cannot read because they're difficult. You don't care. You don't care. You have no motivation to read them. Your only motivation is, I want to get a good grade. Oh, I have it also here. The greatest combination of these is when you're studying foreign literature. So for example, you're studying English at school. If you're assigned, for example, the picture of Dorian Gray, and you're assigned, this is a beautiful version, by the way, lovely cover. I received this as a gift. If you're assigned this and you don't read and you don't understand English at a profound level, this is a nightmare. This is honestly a nightmare. Second aspect, I tried to escape this one, but I think it's inevitable. Choosing if you prefer paper books or digital books. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I bought this. This is the Kindle. I don't know which version. This is super old. And I don't know how long for this has been with a dead battery, because I have noticed that I cannot read digital stuff. It's very hard for me. I mean, I could read it. I read sometimes on digital screens. I read on the phone. I find such resistance in reading on this. Whereas now I've recently bought a book. So I've said, okay, I'm going to invest maybe in one book and read it. And it's expensive because if you compare, this is much more expensive. It's less practical, but just the idea of, it's just different. For me, it's different. I decided that I'd rather invest 15 euros, 12 euros, 20 euros in a book I'm going to enjoy and to read, rather than just pretending I'm downloading books, ebooks, paying 1, 2, 3, 5 euros, and then I'm not reading them. So I tested both, and this, despite the fact that it's more expensive and I usually tend to prefer the cheaper version, for me, this is priceless. It's very personal. So try both. Try to decide Maybe I'm a bit of a boomer, I don't know, but I really find these so much easier to read. So yeah. Next point, I'd like to list some of the types of reading that I love most, especially for language learning, but also in general. Let me show you what I use to improve in my reading skills. Articles. And this one, I'd much rather, for example, read an article online. I love to use The Guardian for English. I love using newspapers in general. And for that, online is not an issue. I get to know so much more stuff. It's cool. I just love reading because you always get to discover something new. Maybe I find some expressions that I rarely see on other types of reading. So articles are a great tool. Recently, I've discovered I love magazines. I know this magazine is not in perfect shape, but I'm really attached to it. Here I also have my pencil. And basically this is in French because I got this when I was in Brussels. I love this. The cool thing about magazines is that you can flick through these and there are so many different articles and topics, and they're somehow connected when it comes to the subject because this is a scientific type of magazine. And this one has as a common theme sleep. So I'm using this, I read this religiously every night, and I use it as a tool to learn French. And I love the subject. So I'm always showing the same page. Sometimes the vocabulary is tough, but for me, since I know Italian, I know it's quite accessible because many words are similar. Leaflets. And as you can see, some of these are digital, some of these, as you can see, are paper form. So leaflets. When I was in Milan, I decided to get this, and I speak Italian, so I could have gotten this in Italian, but I wanted to read it in Polish because I lack advanced Polish vocabulary when it comes to culture, sciences. I never studied that. It's not demanding. But if you, for example, can't read a lot, this is a very good alternative. Also, if you went to a place, if you're interested in something. So here I visited Castello Sforzesco. This was so beautiful. I still remember these pieces. I have also an emotional connection and I'm interested in reading about it. This could be a leaflet about rock music. This could be a leaflet about cars. This could be about any subject. Whatever you find and you enjoy reading. Books. My book collection is not huge because again, I thought I could read on this and I have failed. Books give you obviously more depth. There are probably months, if not years and years of preparation, of writing, of research before writing this. So whenever I read a book, I feel like I can just feel my brain expanding. I think about things I've never thought of before. Books usually follow a thread, so maybe you're reading a fantasy novel, maybe you're reading a romantic story, maybe you're reading a sci-fi story, maybe you're reading some biography. You're following a concept, you have this kind of story you're developing and reading and discovering. It's insane what you can find in books. To be fair, I'm a bit frustrated because I'm very slow at reading, but at the same time, I love the depth that books provide. So even though I'm reading 5 pages or 10 pages a day, that's absolutely fine for me because in the last 3 years, I read fewer pages than these that you see below, the small part, which is a shame. I haven't started and finished one single book last year probably, so it's good that I have started with this. Slow steps. Another piece of writing I'd love to mention is essays. Essays are a bit different from articles, a bit different from reviews, they're different from leaflets, they're different from magazines. I find that essays, they want to share a very specific opinion. The person writing, the essayist, wants to share a very specific opinion, a very specific view on something. Personally, I've been reading Paul Graham recently. incredible. And the final thing I'd love to consider for this video, so as a way to improve in our reading and a way to build this habit of reading, is, as you can see here, this book I've been showing you so far, this is in Italian. There are days, there are evenings in which I really don't feel like reading anything in French. I just don't want to, because we're human, we're stressed, we're tired, it's normal. And sometimes I just want to read, not as a form of I have to feed my brain, I have to be healthy. I just want to unwind and turn everything off. And before getting to sleep, it's just a habit I am building slowly, just reading something before sleep and not using screens, not using social media. This is the very final point I'd love to mention. Social media. Social media, there's a lot of demonization when it comes to social media. I read a lot thanks to social media. I've said social media so many times now. Reading the captions, reading some stories, reading what people write about their day, reading the descriptions of some reels, some photos, of some carousels. You might say, that's not reading. That is reading, and maybe it's a different type of reading. Captions are short and they're written in a certain way so people find that content. But at the same time, whenever I read through the comments, I learn new slang. I've talked about slang. It's very useful to know. Whenever I'm scrolling, I see maybe a new idea, a new concept. I also follow a lot of linguists, teachers, language teachers. I follow a lot of creators who talk about languages. So that's also something you get to discover. And I love following French creators because I can read the content and the subtitles, and I read it in French. Some people can't even manage reading a short description. Start from that. If you cannot read an entire book, don't try to go the extra mile and then after 2 days you quit it. I just started with very simple things. There is no perfect method, but there is the perfect method for you. So if you enjoy doing something, if you find pleasure in reading some things rather than others, which could be also mangas, fiction. There are people who can learn languages from recipe books. There are people who learn from prayers. That's absolutely up to you. So in this video, I'm not sharing how to read and learn a language through reading. This is more about building up the habit of reading, which in my opinion is step 0 before actually learning a language through reading. Because if you don't enjoy this, if you don't know how to manage reading, if you can't build the habit, it's quite difficult to do. And more people I can see online and also offline are becoming illiterate. There is lack of critical thinking. So I think all of these can be solved thanks to reading. So thank you so much. I also love reading your comments. You always leave such incredible comments. Truly, one evening I also had a little tear because I was so, I don't want to say proud, but it just moved me a little bit. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time in my next video. Grazie, alla prossima. Pa pa pa.